Have you ever had the experience of understanding everything someone is saying in English, but when it's your turn to speak, you just freeze? You know the words, you can hear them, but they just won't come out. Maybe you've been learning English for a while and you understand it perfectly when you read or listen, but speaking it feels difficult. If this sounds familiar, don't worry, you're not alone. Many learners go through this, and the good news is it's fixable. In this video, I'm going to share exactly how you can move from understanding English to speaking it confidently and naturally. Stay with me until the end, and I'll give you the tools and tips you need to break through this barrier and start speaking English with ease. Let's get started. First, let's talk about why this happens. When you understand English, whether you're listening or reading, you're processing the information passively. This means your brain is just taking in the words without needing to create anything. For example, when you listen to an English podcast or read an article, you're absorbing what's being said or written, but you're not actively creating sentences. Speaking, however, requires active participation. You need to think about the words, put them in the right order, remember vocabulary, and use correct grammar. It's a lot of pressure, especially when you're trying to speak quickly. This can make you feel stuck or nervous. But the good news is, with the right practice, you can make speaking just as natural as understanding. One key step to fix this problem is to start practicing speaking regularly. The more you speak, the more natural it will feel. Even if you're just talking to yourself, speaking out loud helps your brain get used to forming sentences. If you only listen or read, your brain isn't getting enough practice to create sentences in real time. So, one of the easiest ways to practice speaking is by talking to yourself. You might feel awkward at first, but this is a great way to start forming sentences without the fear of making mistakes. You can start by describing what you're doing. I'm sitting at the table, or I'm making lunch. When you practice by talking to yourself, it helps you get used to speaking English without feeling stressed. Another way to practice speaking is by repeating what you hear. Listen to English podcasts, YouTube videos, or TV shows, and stop the video after each sentence. Try to repeat it aloud, just like the speaker. This is called shadowing, and it helps you with pronunciation, rhythm, and fluency. By copying what native speakers say, you will start to speak more naturally and confidently. In addition to repeating, it's really helpful to learn words and phrases in context. This is the key to sounding natural. When you learn a new word, don't just memorize it in isolation. Learn it in a sentence, or even better, in a short conversation. For example, instead of just learning the word delicious, learn phrases like, "This food is delicious," or "I love delicious food." This way, you'll be able to use it more naturally when speaking. Don't worry about making mistakes. This is one of the most common reasons people freeze when it's their turn to speak. The fear of making a mistake stops them from speaking. But mistakes are a natural part of learning. Even native speakers make mistakes, and that's okay. Every time you make a mistake, you learn something new. The important thing is to keep trying, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. The more you speak, the less afraid you will be of making mistakes. If you're nervous about making mistakes, try practicing in low-pressure situations. This means starting with conversations that are easy and don't feel too stressful. You can practice speaking to yourself or talk with a friend or language partner who understands that you're learning. Speaking in these comfortable environments will help you build confidence, and eventually you'll feel ready to speak in more difficult situations. Now, let's talk about practicing with others. Speaking with someone else is one of the best ways to improve. If you don't have an English-speaking partner, try finding one online. There are many websites and apps where you can connect with other learners or even native speakers. Some popular apps for finding language partners include Tandem or HelloTalk. When you practice with a partner, focus on real conversation. It's not just about repeating sentences or words. It's about practicing how to hold a real conversation. Start with simple topics, like talking about your day or discussing your hobbies. Don't worry if you make mistakes. The more you practice speaking in a real conversation, the more comfortable it will feel. Start small, and don't try to talk about complicated topics right away. Begin with short conversations and gradually move on to longer ones. Even talking for 5 to 10 minutes every day will help you improve. The key is consistency. Practice a little bit every day, and you'll see big improvements over time. Another helpful practice is setting goals for yourself. Having clear goals will help keep you motivated. For example, you could set a goal to speak in English for 5 minutes every day or to learn and use 10 new words each week. When you reach your goals, take time to celebrate. It's important to recognize your progress and give yourself credit for the work you're putting in. This will keep you motivated to keep speaking and learning. One great way to improve your speaking is by watching movies or TV shows in English. While you're watching, pay close attention to how the actors speak. Listen to their intonation, their pauses, and their rhythm. After watching, try repeating what they said. This will help you improve both your pronunciation and your ability to speak more naturally. You can start with subtitles in your language, but as you improve, switch to English subtitles. This will help you connect the written word with how it's spoken. Use every opportunity to practice speaking. If you're at the store or in a restaurant, try using English for simple things like ordering food or asking questions. Even if the person you're speaking to doesn't speak English perfectly, practicing in real situations will help you feel more comfortable with speaking. Don't forget about the power of listening. The more you listen to English, the more you'll get used to the sounds and rhythms of the language. This will make it easier to speak because you'll have heard the words and sentences before. So, when it's your turn to speak, you'll be able to say things more naturally. One more thing. Practice speaking in front of a mirror. It may feel a little funny at first, but speaking in front of a mirror helps you focus on your mouth movements and facial expressions. It also gives you a chance to see how you look when you speak, which helps you become more confident. Stay patient with yourself. Learning to speak a new language takes time, and it's okay to go slow. The important thing is to practice regularly and keep going. You don't need to be perfect right away. In fact, perfection isn't the goal. The goal is to speak clearly, confidently, and to be understood. Remember, everyone learns at their own pace, so don't compare yourself to others. Focus on your own progress and celebrate the steps you've taken to improve. Over time, you will get better and better. It's easy to get discouraged when we look at how fast others seem to be learning, but everyone has a different learning style and background. Some people may have been exposed to English for longer, while others may have different learning techniques. Your learning journey is unique, and the fact that you are improving every day is something to be proud of. No one else's path matters. What matters is that you are taking steps to improve, and that's the most important thing. So, if you feel like you're moving slower than others, remember it's okay, and take pride in the effort you're putting in. The goal is to keep moving forward. As you continue learning, keep in mind that small steps lead to big changes. You might not see huge progress overnight, but if you look back at where you started, you'll see that you're improving. One way to keep track of your progress is by keeping a language journal. Write down the new words or phrases you've learned each week, or keep a record of how much you've been speaking or listening. Looking back at this journal will remind you of how far you've come, and it will help motivate you to keep going. Also, take time to celebrate your achievements, no matter how small they may seem. For example, if you speak for 5 minutes without stopping, or you have a short conversation in English with a friend, celebrate that. These small victories are a sign of your progress. Don't wait for big milestones to celebrate. Every time you practice, you're improving, and that's worth celebrating. Next, let's talk about something that many learners struggle with: dealing with frustration. It's completely normal to feel frustrated when you don't see immediate progress. Learning a language takes time, and you won't be able to speak perfectly every day. But the important thing is not to let that frustration stop you. Instead of thinking, "I can't do this," think, "I may not be perfect, but I am improving." Even when it feels hard, you are making progress. Every time you practice speaking, you're getting better, even if it doesn't feel like it. When you get frustrated, take a step back and remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. The more mistakes you make, the more you will learn from them. If you are afraid of making mistakes, try to change your mindset. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, try to see them as opportunities to grow. Anyway, guys, I hope this podcast helped you. Guys, if you also can help me, I would appreciate it. Subscribe.